page for the Department of Planning and Development. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We will get started in just a few moments. Additionally, Sylvia on the Summer Corps team has additional message.
Buenos días a todos. Para la gente que prefiere escuchar la presentación en español, presione el botón indicado para traducción a la mano derecha. Gracias.
Okay, all panelists should be able to turn on video if they would like, and we are now streaming live on YouTube, so you may begin.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Again, just as a reminder, this is a presentation about the May 2021 SBIF rollout video information. We would ask everyone here today, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. You can ask questions at any time. We will answer at the end and throughout the presentation. Additionally, a copy of the presentation will be sent in full via email to everybody here. And if you have any other questions, we can also view it on the YouTube channel in full. And now I'm going to turn it over to Nora with the Department of Planning and Development to give us an introduction.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nora Curry. I am the DPD's SBIF program manager. And joining me today, we have Kim Brisky, Sylvia Orozco, Savannah Allen from Summer Corps, our program administrator contracted by DPD to run the SBIF program. We're excited to share some of the new enhancements to the SBIF program known as SBIF, the Small Business Improvement Fund, which provides grants to small business and property owners to make needed improvements to their property. These changes went into effect at the beginning of 2021. First, we instituted a robust 3-year funding plan, the largest influx of new funding in the 20-year history of the program. We just got funding of $60.2 million in 60 TIFs all over the city of Chicago. The ordinance also made 8 new program enhancements. To highlight just a few, we increased the grant amount allowable for commercial projects. We increased the grant amount from $100,000 to $150,000. For industrial projects, we increased it from $150,000 to $250,000. We also increased the reimbursement percentage up to 90% reimbursable. Also, we're providing more technical assistance for projects. Sylvia from Summer Corps will outline the enhancements as we move through the overview, and so I'll introduce Sylvia Orozco from Summer Corps. But before we move on to the webinar, we're excited to provide a special message from Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and I'm here to share how thrilled I am to support neighborhood businesses like you through the Small Business Improvement Fund, also known as SBIF. SBIF funding is generated by tax increment financing revenues, or TIF, that come from individual districts citywide. Not only does SBIF reinforce our city's economy, but it provides grant support for projects that help small businesses like yours and the communities you serve to grow and prosper. And most importantly, these grants do not need to be repaid because you are the backbone of our communities, and we want to help you, especially during these difficult times. That's why we recently made improvements that will provide greater and faster funding for eligible projects, including a $60 million allocation for new grants that will help hundreds of small businesses to make critical building improvements. So whether you're an entrepreneur pursuing your dreams in a startup space or a longtime employer looking to revitalize your business, the SBIF program could be the key to your future. Thank you again for all of your hard work and continued commitment to bettering your neighborhood and our city. And please, everyone, continue to be safe.
I'm going to do a roll call and ask you to please reply here, present, and to confirm that you can see me and hear me after I mention your name. Commissioner Hughes.
Kim, we're still hearing the
I can see
other
your
hearing.
name. Commissioner
Sylvia, we're ready whenever you'd like to get started.
Okay, thank you for that, Kim. So my name is Silvia Orozco. I am the Program Director for the Small Business Improvement Fund Program. And I'm proud to say that I've worked with the SBIF program for many, many years, and I've assisted hundreds of businesses, landlords, and startups. Summer Corps 504 is contracted with the City of Chicago to administer the SBIF program. Summer Corps is a non-for-profit small business lender that offers SBA 504 loans. We administer the SBIF program as well as the Chicago Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. So now in its 21st year, SBIF is one of the longest running and most successful programs of the City of Chicago. We've helped retain and expand small businesses in nearly every neighborhood and dispersing over $100 million in grants. Please be advised that this is a non-residential program. The grant cannot be used for capital or operating expenses or for residential units. It's strictly for permanent specific infrastructure repairs to both commercial and industrial properties. So now we'll go ahead and get started with today's presentation. So today we'll talk about what is SBIF, what is our program mission, what are the grant parameters, how to get started. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? Do you meet the SBIF eligibility requirements? What are the SBIF program rules? How do you apply? What is the timeline? And what resources are available for you to help? So we'll also go through the May listing of open districts. And with the program, we can move forward now, Kim. Launched in 1999, the City of Chicago Small Business Improvement Fund promotes economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants for permanent building improvement costs. Residential projects are not eligible. SBIF uses the local tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved repair or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisitions. Summer Corps is the program administrator contracted by the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. So now I would like to introduce to you Jorge and Sandra Torres, who are SBIF recipients, and they have successfully completed a SBIF program. a SBIF grant.
Hi, my name is Jorge Torres. I'm the landlord.
I'm Sandra Avitia. I'm the wife. And we started this project about a year ago. And go ahead.
Yes, prior to this renovation, prior to the SBIF program, the location was an eyesore. Neighbors actually thought the place was abandoned. So I grew up in this area. It's called the Back of the Yards. That's where the building is at. And I've been in that area for 40 years. And I'm glad to state now that the building is fully renovated with the help of the SBIF program. I'm the only one of 3 buildings in the area that I'm aware of that it's now beautiful, and it makes it attractive for consumers to want to stop by and shop. I actually used to have bad tenants before. I used to have tire shops, greasy out repairs, and now that it's fully restored, I'm actually happy to notify everyone that I have a wonderful tenant. His name is AJ Customs. He builds beautiful. He has a beautiful concept of making kitchen cabinets in granites. And the best part of AJ, he will be employing 10 to 15 people very soon. He actually started his operations last few weeks. He's actually building showrooms inside the location, and he's currently purchasing equipment as well. So he'll be opening up very, very soon, and he will be employing 10 to 15 people very soon within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks.
We really appreciate your taking the time to provide a testimonial here, and also we hope that working with the SBIF program, you found it to be beneficial to both your business as well as the tenant.
And may I add that working with Sylvia and working with the program, I had a different expectation. I thought it was going to be difficult. I thought it was going to be complicated, but the support, the assistance throughout the project was magnificent. I could not have imagined anything better. Sylvia was by far supportive. She assisted in she answered every question. She was available. If I had questions, I would send them to her in email. She would quickly respond, and I would get, this transaction done rapidly. And I appreciated that very much because, as you know, in a working environment, it's difficult to find time, but I mean, a phenomenal person to work with. Most of the neighbors, I know George had mentioned it being an eyesore, but currently I met a couple of residents within that block. And I may say I'm proud of it because they all were very happy. They all were very pleased to how the community was growing. They were pleased to see more lighting. They were pleased to see more of their own neighborhood changing. And I thought, oh man, that made a big difference to them. It made a difference to me, obviously, as a growing business owner, but it made more difference to them. And I thought, oh, what a great outlook it was for their neighborhood. And they had nothing but positive things to say. And working with Sylvia was just amazing. It was really easy. It was pleasant. It was worth the effort. Every single moment, throughout this whole program, I had nothing but amazing things to say. It was such a great opportunity for George and myself. It was a great opportunity for AJ, who's currently who's currently having a business in there. He's expanding, and it was great for the community. And if I could say this was a great program, is a great program for those like myself that are trying to achieve something higher and greater, because this gave me hope, and it gave me an opportunity to think, well, the city of Chicago is really looking after the residents and is looking after the commercial, industry. It's not just leaving us behind. It's not leaving us to stand alone. It's actually supporting us and encouraging us. And so that's what I wanted to say. You have anything else to say?
Yes, Sylvia was amazing. As my wife mentioned, we couldn't have had a better support on our side. And this is a great program from the city of Chicago. We understand there's a lot of industrial warehouses in the south side of Chicago, especially the west side and Inglewood. And we can't wait, since we know now that the program is so easy and so supportive, we can't wait to start our next project, hopefully the next few months, and to beautify Chicago. Hopefully we can find another industrial building to restore, and this is a great way to make Chicago beautiful again.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you so much for your kind words, and congratulations on successfully completing the project. And I look forward to working with you on your next project. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
So now we'll proceed with the rest of the presentation. So we'll talk about the grant parameters. So the maximum grant amount allowed under the SBIF is $250,000 maximum assistance per each industrial property. $150,000 is the maximum assistance for each single commercial owner occupied, whether it's a commercial property or a landlord. $250,000 is the maximum that can be granted per multiple owner or tenant of a commercial property, with a $75,000 maximum assistance per tenant or per landlord. The applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once the maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. Your reimbursement percentage will be determined according to your appropriate applicant type. And once we start processing the information, we'll determine what percentage you would qualify for. So there's various factors depending on the type of applicant that you are. We'll take a look at your business gross sales, non-for-profits, gross receipts, landlord's net worth, and so forth. So we'll get a little bit more into this as we go along. So for a commercial business, if you are a tenant applicant, we take a look at your gross sales. For non-for-profits, we take a look at the gross receipts for nonprofits. So if your revenue falls between $0 to $3 million, you'd be eligible for 90% reimbursement. If it falls between $3 to $6 million, you'd qualify for 60% reimbursement. And if it's between $6 to $9 million, you'd be eligible for 30% reimbursement. If you are a commercial business, landlord applicant that has no interest in the business that's leasing the space, what we take a look at to determine your eligibility would be your net worth and your liquid assets. So the liquid assets would have to be under $500,000 per individual in order to qualify for the program. If your net worth falls between $0 to $3 million, you'd qualify for 90% reimbursement. Net worth between $3 to $6 million, 60% reimbursement. And if your net worth falls between $6 to $9 million, you'd be eligible for 30% reimbursement. So if there are multiple owners and one of the individuals happens to have over $500,000 in liquidity, unfortunately, that basically disqualifies the entire application. So for commercial business that are owner occupied, the above mentioned schedules for both the net worth and sales apply. And all the requirements for the landlord and commercial tenant apply as well. So if the applicant should fall within different eligibility ranges for net worth and sales, then the applicant would be eligible for the lesser of the two. So let's say your sales, you qualify for 90%, but your net worth leaves you at a 60% reimbursement. We'd be able to proceed with the application at 60% reimbursement. For industrial businesses, both building owner and tenant businesses qualify for 50% reimbursement. So here we have a grant calculation example. So let's say Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant in an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She's proposing to make permanent improvements to her existing retail shop for which she is a tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged $1.5 million. So here's the breakdown of her eligible costs as follows. So the total eligible project costs are $100,000. As a commercial tenant applicant, her gross sales are less than $3 million, so she'd qualify for a 90% reimbursement. The city's responsibility will then be 90% at $90,000, and the applicant's responsibility would be at 10% at $10,000. So keep in mind that this is a reimbursement grant. So in the end, it's as if she's basically paying $10,000 for a $100,000 project. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? So in order to determine whether or not your property qualifies for this program, you can visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to see if your property is within a district. So once you get onto this page, you can click on number 1 to confirm that your business is in a SBIF district. Secondly, you want to click on the address search, enter your address there. The information will come up that applies to that specific property. It will let you know whether or not the property is in a TIF district. And following that information, it will let you know what the anticipated open date for this specific TIF is, as well as have the local delegate agencies listed for that specific area. There are 95 eligible SBIF districts in the city, ranging from north, south, and west side. So each month marks a new 30-day acceptance period for various TIF districts that are open and that have available funding. So you'll see that this information changes every month. So in order to determine whether or not your district is currently open, you can click on the check which SBIF districts are open. that will take you over to the open SBIF districts list. It'll have the list of districts that are open for that month, a map of that district, and also the calendar for the remaining year that lists the districts that will be opening later this year. So who can apply for SBIF grants? Business and property owners can apply if they are in SBIF districts in the city that they're currently accepting new applications for the program. The business owners can own or lease their spaces of business. Landlords of commercial or industrial properties can also apply. A current City of Chicago business license is required. So for commercial businesses that are owner occupied, their annual sales must total less than $9 million. For industrial businesses that are owner occupied, they must have 200 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. For landlords, property owners must have a combined net worth that does not exceed $9 million, and total liquid assets cannot exceed $500,000 per individual. So examples of liquid asset includes cash on hand and non-retirement stocks and bonds. So this requirement shall apply to industrial businesses that lease any portion of the property to one or more entities, which they do not share common ownership with the applicant business. What business and organization types are ineligible to apply? So some of the businesses that do not qualify for the program include chains and franchise businesses, bank branches, liquor stores, bars, nightclubs, adult uses, schools from K through 12, tobacco dealers, places of worship. So this is not a comprehensive list. So if you're not sure, if your business is not listed on here, you can always follow up with the SBIF team and we'll let you know whether or not your business qualifies. What are the SBIF program rules? What improvement costs are eligible? We can cover roofing, facade, components of signage or awnings that are permanently affixed to the building. So there are specific elements of signage that we can cover. Anything that's business specific will be extracted from the eligible cost. Any alterations or structures that are needed for ADA compliance are eligible. If you need to add railings or ramps, if you need to expand the entryway or ADA accessibility, those items can be covered as well. So HVAC as well as other mechanical systems, plumbing, electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the project can be covered as well, such as architectural cost, engineering fees, and also permit cost. Certain environmental remediation measures can be covered, permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, and the purchase of adjacent land parcels for purpose of expansion or parking only. So in order for the adjacent lots to be purchased, you must currently own the property that you're in, operate your own business out of, and the land or property to be purchased must be directly adjacent to your existing property. What improvement costs are ineligible for SBIF? So some of the items that we do not cover include new construction, additions and expansions from the ground up, any standalone minor repairs or cosmetics. If you simply just want a new coat of paint, a new mirror in the bathroom, new fixtures, things of that sort. We cannot cover strictly just cosmetic elements of it, but if you are redoing the, let's say you're doing a full gut rehab, we can cover all of these items. But if there are no structural improvements, actual improvements itself, if it's just a quick touch-up, that we cannot cover. Equipment-related expenses, including kitchen appliances, computers, and office furniture, those are not eligible. There are very few exceptions to this rule. We can cover certain items for commercial kitchens, including exhaust hood, fire suppression systems, and also walk-in coolers and freezers. Any planters that are surrounding or affixed to the building are ineligible. We do not cover fencing, parking lot construction or repair, landscaping, or work on the interior of residential units. So these are some of the items that we do not cover with SBIF. What are the SBIF design requirements? So for every applicant that's seeking a grant of $25,000 or more, must meet the design requirements. So in order to receive the funding, you must conform to the design guidelines. So in order to get this done, there's certain elements that the city wants you to touch on, basically improve the facade of the property. You're strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and the design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up the plans for the work. So you'd be required to make improvements to the exterior using at least 10% of the maximum amount of your grant. It's not limited to, as I mentioned, facade, windows, other improvements. There is a chance that you can get a waiver for this requirement that is granted only if there is a demonstration of satisfaction that no exterior improvements are needed because improvements have been recently completed, or if the exterior features of the building have been well maintained, and if they're consistent with the guidelines provided by DPD. What measures are in place to ensure applicant compliance with program rules? So we check to make sure that there's no debt to the city of Chicago. We make sure that you are current on your property taxes and also that you're complying with the child support laws. We do scofflaw investigations before you receive your approval and also before there is a disbursement made. So we check for parking tickets, administrative hearing fees, water bills, things of that sort. So if you know you have debt, just please make sure that you stay on track to make sure that it's paid before you start the process with us. So again, each applicant will sign an economic disclosure affidavit. The grantees will be required to sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate outside of the TIF or sell the business within a 3-year period following disbursement of funds. If that does happen, you will be required to repay the funds back to the city. In cases of SBIF reimbursement for land purchase, the proof of land ownership will be required before the reimbursement may be made. How do you apply? So you can download a copy of the SBIF application at summercorps.com/SBIF. In order to apply, please complete the application and email it over to spiff@summercorps.com within the designated open acceptance period. What is the SBIF program timeline? So the very first stage would be that the applicant supplies any missing information to complete their application. You'd be granted up to 20 days to complete the application. If all goes well, if you're eligible, we can then proceed to stage 2. Stage 2, you'll be granted 120 days to submit your plans, bids, and specifications. And also, this is where we do our first scofflaw investigation to make sure that there's no debt to the city. So if something does happen to come up, we'll send over the details and also the instructions on how to address the matter. So note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before approval of grant funds to be fully considered. So once everything is accepted, we will then proceed with the request for approval from DPD. The applicant then will be required to provide the proof of financing to complete the project within 120 days of approval. So the conditional commitment letter will be issued. You will have 2 deadline dates. The first, which will be 120 days out to submit the proof of financing. What we accept as proof of financing are bank statements showing available balances, statements showing a line of credit for available use, and also commitment letters from a financial institution stating that you have been approved for the loan. So the next deadline date that will be on that conditional commitment letter is a project completion date, which would be 10 months out from the date that you get approved. And once the project is complete, the reimbursement process usually takes 4 to 6 weeks. So before we move on to the next slide, I do want to mention that there is a possibility that we can have a lottery in this area, in these areas that will be open for this month. So a lottery is only conducted if there's more requests than available funds. So if the demand exceeds the available funds, we do a randomization of all of the applications, basically. So there's, not to say there's winners and losers, but there's a randomized process since we don't have a selection process. And we basically randomize all the applications. start processing them in that order until we don't have any funds available. So we'll let you know if that is the case, with each district. If not, we'll proceed with submitting the letter with the documents that will be necessary to complete the application. So unless TPD has granted an extension of time, the applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified. A maximum of 2 extensions may be granted with TPD's approval only in the case of unavoidable delays due to extraordinary circumstances. So DPD may also, on a case-by-case basis, grant a grant-eligible application an additional amount of time to complete any program requirements. In such cases, DPD shall have the discretion to determine the appropriate length of time. What is required to deem a project completed and receive the grant funds? So once the construction has already been completed, we will ask you for certain documents to prove that the work has been done and the contractors have been paid. So the required proof of payment documentation includes a sworn statement, invoices, canceled checks, and final waivers of lien. We will conduct site visits before the construction is done, as well as after, to document and verify that the work has been completed. We will also ask you for copies of your building permits and also do another scofflaw check to make sure that there's no debt. Once this is all complete, we'll send that information over to the city for processing. So within 4 to 6 weeks, you shall receive your grant payment. So this is for non-escrow projects. What resources are available to help? So once you visit our website at summercorps.com/SBIF, you'll have access to resources to support your SBIF project. So we include the design guidelines. We have a list of lenders that are familiar with the program. We have a list of contractors that previous SBIF recipients have used. There's also a list of City of Chicago general contractors, as well as minority and women-owned businesses that you can also reach out to for estimates. We have technical assistance providers and various other small business resources available to you. You should get to know your local delegate agency. These organizations here are assigned to assist small business owners in the SBIF districts for these areas that are opening in May. So this presentation will be available to you, will be sent to you via email. So you can also reach out to the local agencies that are in your area, Back of the Yard Council, Calumet's Area Industrial Commission, the Chicago Urban League. So all of these businesses here are familiar with the SBIF program, and they are available to assist you with the application process, with any questions. So please feel free to reach out to them. So the rollout information. So for the month of May, we will have the following districts open to accept applications through June 2nd at 5 p.m. So this includes the 51st in Archer, 107th in Halsted, Bronzeville, Greater Southwest Industrial East, Greater Southwest Industrial West, Stevenson Brighton, and South Chicago. So 51st in Archer, 107th in Halsted, and Stevenson and Brighton are new SBIF districts. So I'm happy to have those rolled out. So the applications again will be accepted for these areas through June 2nd at 5 p.m. You can download our application from our website and submit it via email at sbif@summercorps.com. So here we have a project in the Bronzeville area, Emma Shea Cakery and Cafe. So these are a few before pictures. So she had some renovations done to the facade of the building and a full, complete gut renovation and build out for the interior space. Here are some after pictures of the facade and the interior. Very nice place. So some of the items that Emma Shea received reimbursement for include the electrical upgrades, including wiring, switches, outlets, and light fixtures. plumbing work that included the removal of the existing plumbing system and replacement with the new cast iron piping for the restrooms and kitchens. HVAC improvements included the installation of a new commercial exhaust hood system with the associated ductwork, painting, and drywall. What additional documents should you have on hand to submit along with the SBIF application? So these items listed here, they are part of the application. You will not be required to submit absolutely everything on the list here. The items vary based on your applicant type. So just a heads up, as some of the items that we may request include business tax returns, a proof of property ownership, economic disclosure statement and affidavit. So these forms, some of these forms will be provided for you to be completed. So while it's not required when submitting the initial application form, please note that these will be required to submit to complete the application. So again, they do vary. So once we reach out to you and get started with the process, we'll send out the list that is specifically targeted to your application type. What are the financial requirements to participate in the SBIF program? So again, this is a reimbursable grant. So participants should be prepared with financing to support the permanent building improvements. Proof of financing is not required until stage 3, but you're strongly encouraged to contact your local business lender, reach out to one of the lenders that are listed on the list on our website in a timely manner. So if you're looking to obtain a loan, it is time consuming, so we'd rather you get started with that sooner rather than later so that you do not use your construction timeline to obtain the loan. So you want to make sure that you have your financing before you get that approval so that it doesn't interfere with the construction timeframe, which is granted at 10 months. So the grantees may choose to receive their grant funds through an escrow account. DPD in its sole discretion may authorize up to 3 draws of funding from the escrow account to reimburse an applicant as the work is completed on a project. Any fees that are associated with the use of an escrow account will be taken out of the grant award. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes. Startups can apply. The startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of the business income and expenses for the first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. So please note that the city reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with startup businesses. So if you've only been in business for, let's say, 1 or 2 years, we require tax returns and projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Are you eligible if you live outside of the city of Chicago? So the important thing to consider here is where you have your business or your property. To participate in the SBIF, your property must be in the city of Chicago, as funding sources come from the city property taxes. So if you live in another area, please call your city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what they have available there in their area. So even if you live in the suburbs, but your property or your business is located within the city of Chicago, you can still apply as long as the area is open to accept applications. What if my building has both business and residential spaces? So the program is primarily used for business, but there are mixed use exceptions. So for these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible, but we cannot cover any common space areas for the residents or interior renovations to the residential units. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? So as I mentioned, there is a chance that we may have to do a lottery. So each tax increment financing TIF district that has SBIF is authorized, has its own limited funding reserved for the program. So if the demand for SBIF is greater than the available supply fund, we'll have to have a lottery. So that will determine the order in which each grant application is accommodated. So if any surplus funds become available, they will be allocated to the people who are on the wait list. So the applicants for properties located in the Invest Southwest corridor shall be given priority for funding and the lottery. The applicants that are located within a target corridor shall be second in priority for the funding and the lottery. The remaining applicants shall be provided funding, if available, and placed on the wait list, if applicable, after the applicants in the Invest Southwest corridors and the target corridors have been addressed. Is there SBIF funding available in my district? Every SBIF funding has its own budget, or every SBIF area has its own budget that the city refills if it has TIF funds available and if there's a demonstrated need for more grant money. You can email us at spiff@summercorps.com to see if there are any funds available in your area. We also maintain an interested party list for funds, which you can also add yourself to by sending an email to us to join our list. So when more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funding, we'll let you know. The interested party list also helps the city of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. So what if you're in a TIF and it's not in a SBIF? The tax increment financing is the mechanism that funds the SBIF program. So if you are in a TIF district and it does not have SBIF, you can reach out to your alderman. Here we have Summer Corps and DPD's contact information. So on the team, we have Savannah Allen, Anastasia Williams, Elibeth Castañeda, and Shalonda Fisher. And from the city, we have Nora Curry from the Department of Planning and Development. So you can reach out to any of us if you have any questions. So again, a copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees within the next 24 hours. So keep a lookout for that information. Now we can start off with any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sylvia. First question would be, in addition to like the financing question or permitting bids, what kind of things can somebody start proactively working on, especially if maybe their SBIF district isn't open yet?
So I would basically determine exactly what it is that you're looking to do. And you can get started with, contacting the contractors to get estimates. You can take a look at the application to see exactly what it is that we'll need. You can contact Summer Corps and ask questions about exactly what you'll need as far as the application materials go, just to prepare yourself for that.
Great.
We do advise that you do not get started with any work unless, you have to absolutely get it done. If there's an issue with the roof or if there's, an HVAC system that needs to be replaced. But just keep in mind that any work that's done prior to receiving approval will not be eligible for reimbursement.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. If you just completed work or had something in process, was it eligible for reimbursement? But it sounds like the answer is no.
That is correct. Unfortunately not. You do have to go through the process, get approved, and then get started with the work. So anything that's already completed, unfortunately, we will not be able to retroactively reimburse you for that.
Great. Just a reminder, anybody who has questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box right now. A next question, are the financial limits based on the amount which can be reimbursed or the total cost of the project? So meaning, I suppose, is the maximum of how much a project can, or the percentage of how much your reimbursement will be? Is that based on the total project cost or the total eligible project cost? Does that make sense?
So, and question is the reimbursement percentage? Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yeah, so are the amount that you can actually receive back in reimbursement, is that based off of how much the total project costs or how much the eligible work projects cost?
So that will actually be based on the applicant type. So we could, depending on what the applicant type is, we would have to factor in your net worth, the liquidity, and also the sales. That will determine what your reimbursement will be. Also the type of property that you're located in. So if it's in a multi-tenant property, you'd be limited to $75,000. If it is a single commercial space, you can get up to $150,000. If it's industrial, up to $250,000. So it really doesn't matter what the estimated cost will be. I mean, there will be caps there, but in order to determine the reimbursement percentage, that's based off net worth, liquidity, and sales.
Great. Another question is, they've been hearing a lot about the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. Can you be an applicant of both programs?
You can submit applications for both. We cannot proceed with both programs. You would have to come to a point where you'd have to make a decision and decide whether the SBIF program or the NOF is best for you, but you cannot use both jointly.
Great. And would you mind going a little bit more into detail about when things like painting or floors, tiling could actually be included in eligible project costs? So
Painting, tiling, or flooring. So if you're looking to redo your floors, I mean, we could do new joists, we can do underlayments, we do new layers of flooring if it's, you know, tile or wood. If you're looking to renovate a restroom that needs new tile, new vanities, mirrors of that sort, we can work with that. But if it's strictly just cosmetic work, that we exclude. But if it's part of a larger project, we can cover all of those items.
great. I think that's the clarification we needed. All right, last call from anybody here if they have any questions. Seeing none, just as a reminder, everybody today will receive an email with a copy of this presentation. It will also be loaded up onto the YouTube page. Oop, I apologize. One last question. If a business location has building violations and cases pending, would they have to pay that debt prior to qualifying for a SBIF grant?
Yes, those issues would have to be addressed before we can proceed with the application.
Okay. Then now I truly mean that was the last question then. So I say again, we will receive an email and we will actually have this video up on the DPD webpage. And we appreciate everybody for their interest in the SBIF program. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.